How's everybody doing today?
Good, are you?
That's a lot of talk, you know. It's great to have you guys back over here. Spent the last few weeks trying to do a good job putting together a great class of young men that we think can help us win games here at Syracuse. Our biggest focus going forward, as we had a lot of transition the last few weeks, was really to focus on a couple things. First and foremost, try to go out and find some high-character young men that can represent the school in a class fashion. And along with that, some guys who can go out there and make plays for us on the football field. First off, I'd like to thank all the coaches, quite a few new faces as well, that have stepped up to the plate and really done a great job recruiting in a short period of time when we had to go kind of rekindle the approach. And just pleased with their efforts. They did a great job of getting out there and doing a great job with the families as well as the kids that we were recruiting. And on a footnote, I'd also like to thank their families for the sacrifices they've made, from all the coaches' wives to the children involved that had to, the coaches having to miss out on the different things that they do at this time of year, and just really appreciate all the sacrifices that are made by our coaches' wives as well as the men going out there and doing a great job. When we looked at this class going into Christmas and then post-Christmas, really is the way I looked at it, our biggest focus was we had to go out and find a pair of cute quarterbacks. That was one of our primary goals, and I'm extremely excited about the two young men that we've signed, and I'll talk about all these kids here in a moment. Also needed to do a good job finding a handful of offensive linemen. As you well know, we've lost a couple good players that have played a lot of football. And we have a couple kids that we'll be losing here in the next class and the one following that are going to need to be replaced. So that was definitely a priority. After those two positions, we looked for guys that were productive on the football field, and we wanted to find some playmakers, guys that made plays, not just guys that were fast on the track or fast in a 40-yard dash in a combine, but guys that made plays on videotape that you could clearly see could do the same thing at the collegiate level. So that was our focus, and as well as when we looked at the defensive side of things, we really wanted to upgrade, with some playmaking ability and some depth at the linebacker position. The linebacker position was one that I felt like we've been down on the last couple of years as far as depth is concerned. So we wanted to try to get a couple, three guys that could come in, not only help us, in the front, but also in the kicking game, because those middleweight body type of guys are so essential to our success when we go through the special teams alignment. So that's kind of, put it in a nutshell, our approach as we went out there. Now what I'd like to do is kind of hit a few of these kids, go down the list a little bit, and then open it up to some questions, okay? And I'm just going to go right down alphabetically, talk about each kid briefly. The first kid is Luke Arciniega, who came in here early. He was one of our early enrollees. He's a big, strong kid, 6'2", 250, maybe 255 right now. A young man that was playing at Sierra College, who has a history, who is a football player that a lot of people were interested in coming out of high school. Started out at Nevada, made a change, had a chance to go to Sierra Junior College and really play some good football. Really excited about Luke joining our team. P.J. Batten is a tight end / D-end athlete from Miami, Florida, from Day's Christian Academy down there. He's a kid that I could consider a two-for, meaning he can play on either side of the ball. We want him to really excel for us at the tight end position. He gives us the ability to stretch the field vertically. He's also got a big body that's going to continue to get heavier, and he does a good job putting his face on people. Then we look at a couple of those offensive linemen. John Burton, a kid from Virginia via Fork Union Military Academy. Big, strong kid, 6'6", 300 and some 10 pounds, 315 pounds. But he really has good flexibility. He bends well. And he's a guy that I think will give us some athleticism with size, which is always big. Then we go to a playmaker, Korey Cooper. He'll be a freshman out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and he's one of those kids I was referring to. He's a playmaking guy, makes acrobatic plays across across the board, both down the field on the outside and across the middle, and has a real good feel for the game. Continuing forward, we got Brisley Esteem, wide receiver. He's only 5'9", but he is dynamic. If you get a chance to watch his highlight tape on YouTube, you'll see return after return where he just makes people look silly. Great vision, great feet, and really good acceleration. And he's played both ways. You know, I mentioned earlier about a guy like PJ that's a twofer, offensive player, defensive player. Brisley's a kid that if you watched all his defensive back tape, you'd say we could recruit him as a defensive back. If you watch his wide receiver tape, you'd say, holy mackerel, that guy's dynamic. And then you watch his return game, you really get excited about him. And he comes from good football country, and we're excited to have Brisley aboard. Alex Hayes, another lineman from Georgia. Alex is a real smart kid that has a good feel for the game. He's got good feet. They use him on videotape, reaching people, pulling off the line of scrimmage, has the ability to move. He's not just one of those big guys that can play in a box. And he's also like the 11 handicap on the golf course. First lineman I've ever heard that could play golf. Okay. And then after that, we go down to Marquis Hodge, linebacker from Miami, Florida. Got to watch him live back in May. He was one of our early commits. The thing I liked about him is on the track he ran a 48 flat 400 meters, which is flying for you guys that don't know anything about track. Good hard-nosed kid that comes from a military family, both parents in the military, and just really like this kid. We've had success with kids from that program, and we look forward to Marquis being the next guy. Zeke Johnson, Isaiah Johnson, I think this kid's got tremendous upside. He played on a team that was very talented. We had a camp at Maritime, and the traffic going into New York City, he got caught in, and we didn't know if he was showing up. I turn around, I'm watching the defensive backs. I go to the defensive lineman against the offensive lineman. I go back and forth, and all of a sudden I see a guy just go right by somebody. I said, who's he? I haven't seen him in any of the drills. And then all of a sudden we come to find out that he's a kid that we wanted to offer. And we're real happy to have him in the program. Then we go Darius Kelly. He's a defensive back that's been a very talented kid. Right now he's from Pima Community College, but he played in Arizona as well as North Carolina. So he's been around a little bit. Another Army brat, a kid that's been brought up in a military-type background, no different than my children in the coaching profession. He's bounced around a little bit. He's a real worldly kid who has a lot of ability, likes to put his face up in there. He's a good hitter. Mitch Campbell, quarterback, dynamic quarterback out of Illinois, who we're excited to get. A young man that's an excellent student in the classroom. He can run it as well as throw it. He's an exciting young football player with tremendous upside, and look forward to him and Austin Wilson coming in and competing right away. Austin Wilson, to jump ahead, kid that can really throw the ball. We had a chance to see him throw live as well as watch his videotapes. So I think we have two dynamic young men that are extremely competitive young men. Just what you want at that position. They're both gym rats. I went to see Austin in his home a week back, and show up, he's got a big black eye from his basketball game the night before. And just talk about competitive guys. Both those two quarterbacks are guys I think you guys can enjoy watching compete against one another as well as the other quarterbacks in the program. Josh Kirkland, young man from Kansas via Butler Community College. Josh is a young man. We watched some videotape on a couple other kids, and we keep seeing this guy show up making all the plays. So I asked the coach, well, what about this Kirkland kid? He goes, Coach, he's the best kept secret in the JC circuit in Kansas. So had a chance to go out and watch him practice, had a chance to talk to all their coaches, obviously, and really fell in love with this kid. Unbelievable work ethic. He's a country strong kid from Kansas. Grew up in the middle of nowhere out there, and you talk about an exciting kid to watch. Just plays as hard as he can, and just fun to watch him run around that practice field as well as the game tape. Got another offensive lineman, John Miller. John Miller comes out from L.A. Harbor College. John's 6'2", maybe. Big, strong kid. Really likes to move you. Likes to get up underneath. He's got great leverage. Plays with his hands well. And he's one of those young men that's already here working and starting school. The next guy's a really interesting young man, Kendall Moore. We got him at 6'5", 250. He might even be a little bit taller than 6'5". He's got a baby face. He's from the south side of Chicago. Coached a lot of kids from his neighborhood. They've all been good football players. The thing that's interesting about him is we have him as an offensive lineman, but he could do different things. He could play tight end. He runs that well. And he's a young man that, when we first got the tape, I was really surprised that he was still available because of his athleticism. And then I said, well, is he really that tall? And he shows up on the visit, and I'm looking up at him, and anytime I have to look up at him, I'm excited. And just comes from a great family. Talked to his mom, a sweet lady, and looking forward to Kendall being in the program. Then we go with a kid named Provo. Some of you guys remember his brother, and it's great to continue the legacy of having a Provo in the program. Tough kid, good blocker, as well as a guy that can get down the field and catch the football. So our challenge to him is to see if he can beat his brother's records with receptions at that position. Go up the road, Chauncey Sissel, young man from West Henrietta, Ashton Broyle teammate, state champion. I think this kid is probably the biggest dark horse in the class. The thing I love about him is the way he's been raised. Two wonderful parents brought him up the right way, highly educated, highly motivated from the academic side of things. And he's probably one of those kids that can play a number of positions. He's still growing. We start him out at corner. He could play safety, he could play nickel linebacker type guy as he continues to grow. We've had him in our camps, and I was anxious to get him an offer as soon as I was named the head coach, and can't wait to see him in uniform. Then we have Trayvon Trejo, a D lineman from Long Beach, California, and he's from Golden West Community College. Young man will be joining us here after May. 6'5", 240. He's got the body type of Chandler Jones. He's extremely sudden coming off the edge, and he plays well with his hands for a big, long kid. So I think that'll be a young man that can give us pressure off the edge. Wayne Williams, a big old dog we've been chasing around for a couple years when he came out of high school at Lincoln. Then he went to ASA, and now he's finishing up his work. And looking forward to getting him here. He'll be a big force in the middle, 6'4", 315-pound type of guy. Again, powerful guy, athletic guy, can do a backflip. 6'4", 310 does a backflip for you, and ask you if you want to see it again. I'm saying, no, that's fine. Don't get hurt. I want to get you on campus first. Austin Wilson we talked about, and then Korey Winfield. This guy reminds me of a young Greg Jennings. He never looks like he's going fast on the football field, but he runs away from people. And you talk about acrobatic plays. You throw it up and watch him go up for it. He's got like a 39-inch vertical jump. The only guy that I've seen jump higher than him is Rob Moore on the staff. Is Rob in here? So we're going to jump them and see if Rob still has that test. He's up there, showtime. Anyway, I know as coaches we get up here and we just keep spurting and talking about these guys. I think the question and answer period is always better anyway. Really excited about this class because it's represented with high-character young men that really love the game of football and treat it with respect. I was proud of the way they operated on signing day. It was a situation where we didn't have guys going up there and throwing hats and being disrespectful to the coaches from other schools that were recruiting them. I talked to those kids about handling it with respect, and they did a great job. So I think you guys will be excited to meet these kids when they get on campus. And at this point, I'll take any questions you guys may have.
Please raise your hand for questions.
Hello, Scott.
Hi, Bud. How are you?
Good. How much is about you, if at all, that some people are saying? You said all this beautiful stuff about these guys, and I'm not challenging anything.
Sure.
But some of these
You
people
can challenge it if you want.
Well, I don't know enough. I can't challenge it.
I won't know enough about these guys for 3 to 4 years to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And my best players are the kids that have been 2 stars and no stars that have had the longest NFL career. So, when I look at this class, Bud, not to cut you off, but I probably know where you're going just because I can tell by your face there.
Well, it's just some people are saying that in the ACC you're like 13th out of 14 teams or some such.
Right.
In recruiting, what's your response to that?
The greatest thing about the game we coach and play is that you put the ball down and you play. And you take that 5-star guy against a 2-star guy, and let my guy just go after your guy with the chip on his shoulder, and I'll be excited to see where we turn out. Yeah, we may not be the fastest, we may not be the biggest, we may not be the strongest, but by God, we're going to play our butts off here. And I love these kids that we just signed, and more importantly, I like the kids that are working in the field house right now. And we'll play in this conference with a chip on our shoulder. I can't promise you anything more than that. But we're going to play hard, we're going to play with integrity, and we're going to play with respect for the game. And that's really all I care about at this point in time.
Scott, can you talk about, putting this staff together and as quickly as you had to do it, finding the success and bringing in these recruits, just what you have to say about your staff?
Yeah, we got a great group of young men working alongside each other in this staff. We come from the same stone, in my opinion. We were brought up with the grassroots approach of coaching football with respect to the game. What I mean by that is I think all of the guys that are coaching on this staff are guys that owe a lot of their livelihood to what football did for them when they were kids, and then said, I need more, and decided to continue their careers as coaches for all the right reasons. So when they go out and they speak to a kid in the home, I really believe they speak to the kid from the heart. They tell their story. Rob Moore was talking about it earlier today. Right, Rob? About how he was probably a 2-star guy with 2 or 3 offers coming out. And every time he lined up against a 5-star guy, he remembered that guy from high school. And he went through it in his head. And when I heard Rob talking like that, I said, I'm so happy you're on our staff. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm so happy you're with us, Rob. And it's the same way. This whole group of guys, Chuck Bola, he goes to Michigan State. He's kind of a legacy name going into Michigan State, but same deal. He wasn't the biggest, wasn't the strongest. You guys have all met him. No, he's not the prettiest guy. That didn't help him. But he played his buns off. And I think our kids will appreciate the type of people that are coaching them, because that's who we are. Hell, I'm a Division III guy. You know what I mean? And fought our way to get to this point, and are appreciative to be coaching here at Syracuse. And as important as anything, when you look down the table, any people out there that are in an atmosphere where you have camaraderie with your group, whether it's Herm looking at Daryl across the table, it's me feeling so lucky to have Sue next to me to help me through these types of situations. There's a camaraderie in that room that really you can't explain, and I don't know how many games we're going to win. I just know one thing, I'm going to be glad to be fighting with these guys next to me.
Coach, did you guys have to change your strategy given the circumstances, the timing?
Yes, we had to adjust to the elements. We had to adjust to the elements just like you do on the football field. Anytime you have change, you have to adjust. That's what we had to do. And it was more, go out there and show these kids that we recruited prior to some of these new faces on staff who we are, and see if they wanted to play for us. And if they still wanted to after seeing who we were to the core, great. And if they didn't, that's great too. And then let's go find some kids that do want to buy into what we're about. But yeah, we had to adjust to the elements just as you do on a sudden change situation on a football field. And you're ready for that. That's the livelihood we choose. And it's really, to be expected, to be honest with you, as we all, move into different positions at different jobs at different institutions.
You go.
Coach, with all the traveling, all the hard work throughout this whole process, how satisfying is it after all that to sit down here today and look at this class that you're obviously, very happy with?
It's good when you hear their voices on the phone, and you get the mom on the phone. Last night, I got one of the guys, a couple schools tried to come in and poach him last night. Mom gets on the phone and says, Coach Shafer, don't worry, we know who you are to the core. My son's coming to Syracuse. We like what you guys are about. We like what that school's all about. It's satisfying to hear their voices. And I'll be honest with you, some of the kids we lost, some of the kids that chose to go elsewhere, some of the kids maybe we didn't offer that we knew about, that have opportunities elsewhere, I'm happy for them too. Because at the end of the day, they all get a piece of the pie. They all get a piece of college football. And how lucky we are and how lucky they are to just play this great game. So, to be honest with you, you win some, you lose some. At the end of the day, you want the guys that want to be, dressed in the blue and orange and excited about those kids that are coming in here.
All that said, were there surprises today? Were there any real surprises? Or
No, not really. I think you went to bed, you're hopeful and all those things, but you're also, anticipating, what's going on, who didn't call back, who called you, all those things that go on,
Right.
But, not really any major surprises.
So Scott, you're happy for those guys, and I remember you were sitting here at your introductory press conference, and you said, people who, you said something like, people don't want to come here, they better not want to play against us or some such.
Yeah, we look forward to playing against them. No different than some of my best friends in the business who take jobs elsewhere and don't come with me or whatever. Still going to be my best friends. Still great respect for those people, but by God, I can't wait to try to get after their ass on Saturday afternoon. And just like those kids would say the same thing back to us. That's
So
why
no hard feelings with these
there's
people?
no hard feelings. You knock each other around. As players, they're going to go out there and hit each other and play the game the way it's meant to be played. And afterwards, you shake hands and say, "Whew, that was a hell of a game." It's as simple as that. Everybody wants to blow it into this controversial type situation. It's not. It's kids and coaches that aren't kids anymore and aren't allowed to play anymore, trying to hang on and live the dream. College football. It's as simple as that. I get up in the morning and on my worst day, I got to pinch myself and say, "Holy mackerel, they're paying me to do this." I mean that too, bud. I'm so lucky. We're so freaking lucky. We look at each other in the room every day. We giggle sometimes. They're paying us to do this. You kidding me? You know what I mean? And we try to tell our kids that too. Remind them how fortunate we are. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of it.
Frank.
Coach, philosophically, do you want all these kids coming in and having a shot to play right away, or do you like having some sit and acclimate for a year?
Yeah, I think the reality of college football today, as well as the reality of what Syracuse is comparable to a Stanford, it costs $55,000 to go here. There's not a lot of walk-on players that can afford that run 4.40s. So we have to be smart about, our 85 have to be really good. If we can get another, 10, 15 quality kids to walk on and compete, really at the end of the day, you say we got to play our best players. You know what I mean? And you'd like to have that luxury of the old days when there were 105 scholarships where you could redshirt all of them and build them up. That'd be great, but that model's just not realistic anymore. So at the end of the day, you bring them in at each and every position and you give each guy the opportunity. Some kids physically may not be there. Some kids mentally might not quite be there, so you put them on the shelf for a little bit. But they're only a play or two away, an injury or two away from being in the mix. So I think their mindset has to be twofold. One, come in and see how good you are. Compete to see if you can play with these guys. And then two, trust in the fact that your coaches will put you in a position to excel, whether that be on the field right now or down the road. And I think that's the natural maturation of any player at Syracuse or any school that's in the same situation we are.
Coach, can you speak to what role the facility upgrades that are going on this last year played in attracting kids?
I think facilities are important if they're tools that help a player get better. I think facilities do a good job. You walk into a new house and it's brand new and you smell it and it looks good, it feels good. I think that there's positive vibes that come off. When you walk in this building now, there's a positive vibe, okay? You walk into the Carrier Dome and you watch a football game and it's loud in there, there's a positive vibe. But I do think that a lot of those buildings are overrated. I think what's most underrated are the people in the buildings, whether it be a wonderful professor in a political science class, or a really good running backs coach, or someone in the science lab that's doing wonderful things. They're the underrated people, because it's still a human business. It's still a relationship business. And I've made those mistakes as a coach where, I jumped to a job because it was bigger. I thought it was better because it was glamorous, because of the helmet, because of this, because of that. But at the end of the day, we always try to remind our recruits that it's about the relationships. And it's about the people that you're going to be living with day to day, not necessarily the house. We'll try to continue to upgrade the house, but let's make sure that the people in the house are more important than the building. Things are important, but people are more important, and that's the focus that I think you always want to take in the recruiting process, because then you get a guy that wants to play for you as well as attend a university for a particular reason academically. And then I think you're on the right track.
Dan, then one final question.
Scott, you talked about Mitch Campbell and Austin Wilson and a lot of positivity toward them. Having the task of trying to find the next quarterback, just go into your thoughts and emotions on that, not just the guys bringing in, but everybody.
Yeah, well, I really like the kids in-house right now. They've been competing already on their own, spending a lot of time running around, throwing that ball around on their own, getting up to meet Coach McDonald. We got good kids in-house that are going to compete. But you need to have competition with 5, 6 guys at that position, in my opinion, early on. Then we have to decipher where we're at as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, the thing I like about both the 2 freshmen coming in and the kids in-house is they're all pretty competitive young men that want a shot. And now we'll have to do a good job just making sure we sort things out.
Scott, I think you mentioned this at your introductory press conference, but just speak about New York City, New York State, kind of tri-state area, kind of what your specific approach is going to be to.
Yeah, you always want to take care of your homegrown kids. You know what I mean? We all know that we've had quite a few kids from New York come in here. We're always going to look at the productivity that they put on the field and try to analyze what we can do to continue to attract the best player to try to come here. We've lost some battles with a lot of the teams around the country with the top tier kids in state, and we've won a few. But you're never going to win them all. You're never going to have enough room to fit them all in. But the approach will be that we try to take care of the kids at home first. We had some early commitments out of young men that decided to change their mind later. That's a shame. You wonder if they know you too well or you know them too well. It's like the last girl in the bar always gets looked at. You know what I mean? And you got a relationship with the kid for 2.5 years, and then all of a sudden he has a relationship with the school for 10 days, and you say, what happened? And then you say, well, they're 17, 18 years old. And I know when I was that age, I made some major mistakes. Best thing that happened to me is I didn't meet my wife until the end of my senior year in college. We got a great relationship, right, Missy? So, I think it goes both ways. If you overanalyze it, you drive yourself insane. We want to do a great job. If we have good football players in New York, we want them to play at Syracuse. And we'll try to keep them at home as best we can. If they don't want to play for us, we'll go find the next best one wherever they are.
Thanks, Coach, very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate your time today.
All right.